Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order, and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
This segment is brought to you by Jig Masters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
You're listening to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast with your hosts Ryan Milford and Sean Lambert. Welcome back to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and we got my co-host, Sean, in here.
Hey, guys, what's up?
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we don't usually do this in the morning, but
Yeah,
so that's why Ryan has that smoky, sexy radio voice.
It's true. It's true. Maybe we should do it more often in the morning, John. But yeah, just me and Sean today. We're I guess just going to kind of recap how our seasons have went so far. You know, I've gotten out a few times now. Sean's got out a few times, and we'll see where we're at, what's happened, all that. So, where do we need to start with this?
I don't know. I mean, I can definitely say I struggled for the first 3 months of this year, and not for not going out. I was going out wearing my dry suit, you know, when the water, you know, was just, you know, in the 30s, 40s, you know, I could not buy a bite to save my life. So now it's finally starting to, the water's starting to heat up, and I've finally started catching some fish. So I was about ready to, you know, pack it all in and say, I can't do this, but thank goodness I've had a few catches now. But
what are your water temps now? Last time we went out.
Well, we just had like a little bit of a cold snap, so it was still just 50 degrees the last time I went out. But I actually started catching, like I caught my first wacky rig fish of the year at the end of the night, right as I was heading in, and so I'm hoping that's where it turns around. And it was actually up shallow where I normally catch them. So I think they're finally starting to move up out of the depths and go to where I normally do okay catching them. So what's your water temperatures like?
Yesterday I was getting like started out in the morning like 63 and got up to like 65 as it warmed up.
Okay. I think the highest I saw last week was 52, but the week prior to that I did see like 55. So
yeah, I can't remember. That was on a smaller body of water.
Okay.
On the bigger, I fished a big lake a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what I was getting. I'm wanting to say it was around 60. I don't know. I can't really remember.
The river is still cold by us, but the smallmouth don't seem to care. They were just as active as the largemouth in the lakes by me. So
yeah, they like the cold, don't they?
it seems like they do. They're up shallow too, where I can start doing a little better, hopefully. So, but I usually don't turn on my fish finder in the river just because it's, you know, generally not super deep, and so it doesn't really help me a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to, you know, the analogy I made before. You know, smallmouth are kind of like you know, active, like to work out and all that. Well, you know, they like that colder water, you know, so they keep them cool as they do all the exercise they do. I'm a largemouth. I like to sit under a log in the shade, like, and just chill.
That's right.
Be fat and happy.
Hey, you know, whatever makes you happy, man. if you can, kick back and relax sometimes, I'm sure that's good too.
But yeah, we already talked about it on here. But my first time out this year, I've only been out 3 times so far. My first time went out, I caught 5 fish, 2 were measurable, and one of them was my new PB smallmouth, which isn't like anything like crazy. It was like 18 and a half. But, that's my PB. I was happy with it. It was fun. Caught it on a little Ned rig on a medium light rod. I had my first lake smallmouth as well. I'd never caught one in a lake. They've all been in the river. Then go ahead.
I was going to say I've caught a few in the lake by me too, but not very many at all. For the longest time, I didn't even kind of really look and pay attention to say, oh yeah, that's a smallie. So, but one of my bigger smallies actually came from the lake too, and so yeah.
In that same sense, I wonder sometimes. My very first bass I ever caught came out of Duck River, like fishing from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I didn't know the difference in them or nothing. So now I'm wondering, like, what was it? Because I can't remember. I can't remember what it looked like. And I'm like, maybe it was a smallmouth. Caught it in current in a river. I mean, it sounds like a smallmouth area. So
it does. And here in our rivers, we don't have many largemouth at all. So if you catch it in the river, it's more than likely a smallmouth. And the lakes are the exact opposite. If you catch it in the lake, it's more than likely a largemouth, but it's not always. I definitely have at least 2 that I know of that I've caught, in the lake that were smallmouth. So, but you're right. Same thing with me. For the longest time, I didn't know the difference, and so I could have caught more than that, but just don't remember it or don't know for sure.
We may never know.
Yeah, I don't think I have pictures of those. I used to not take pictures.
No, I don't get why I never took a picture of my first bass. I was so excited to catch it, but I don't know. But yeah. So,
but you fished at least one tournament now already, right?
Kind of 2.
Okay.
I've talked about them before on here, but the 444s that I do with KBFTN, where they basically take 16 people, randomly draw names for groups. So you randomly get put in this group with 3 other people. Then y'all decide when and where you're going to fish. They generally want you to stay on like the 2 lakes that they fish for tournaments.
Okay.
But you can pick which boat ramp and where what day and what time you want to fish. And the winner of each group goes on to fish a championship. And then, if you win the championship, you go on at the end of the year, they do a champion of champions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I fished one of those. I didn't win. I got second place. But yeah, it was fun. I went out there, it was after work one day and fished like 5:15 to 9:15. And so it was my first time fishing at night this year. And yeah, I caught a couple like 12 inches and caught one that's like 6 to 8 inches and caught a crappie. And then I thought I had another new PB smallmouth, but it turned out to be a drum. Yeah, man. And something I gotta say, almost all the fish that I've caught so far this year have been on a Ned rig. And I know we've talked about it several times about how I hate spinning combos, and you're not real great with casting, but that's pretty much all I've used so far this year is this spinning rod with a Ned rig.
Interesting.
And I mean, I've probably caught, I don't know, probably it's got to be close to 30 or 20 fish so far, 20 bass so far. Now, a lot of them are too small to count. I'm catching a lot of small ones, but I'm catching fish, and man, and I feel, one of my arguments against using spinning gear has always been, I can't cast it accurately, but I've used it almost primarily for 3 trips, and I'm getting decent. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I've gotten decent.
I'm still learning. I just bought my first crankbait rod off a guy on Facebook Marketplace. So I've been throwing that a lot. Haven't had much luck with it yet, but again, I haven't had much luck with anything hard bait or similar to that this year. So I'm not blaming the rod. I think that'll come. So, but I still, fall back to the spinning rod more often than not. Even I've been throwing a jerkbait in the river, and I was talking to a guy who I'd seen catch some fish, and he happened to be at a ramp that I showed up to, and so we kind of, floated down the river together, and I noticed he was throwing a jerkbait on a spinning rod, and I asked him about it. He's like, "Yeah, usually in the river I do, just because I use a smaller jerkbait and it's lighter line." So I started doing it, and as soon as I threw it, I caught a fish almost immediately. I was like, "Dude, you're a genius!"
Nice.
But he got off right at the boat. But and I haven't been back to the river because last week the river got all crazy again, being high and fast. So I'm looking forward to going back out to try that again because he said he tore him up on it. So I'm looking forward to that. But
yeah, I'd like to get back out on my river, but it's been pretty high. All the rain we've had lately, they've been opening up the dam on Normandy Lake, and man, just Duck River's been flowing a lot.
We haven't had a ton of rain, but I guess upstate PA has had some rain because the flow was higher the last week. So we have the Kayak Anglers of Central PA is the group that I belong to. They have a similar thing, sounds like, to what you're talking about. They call it like the 360 challenge, where I think they pick like 9 anglers out of the group. You have the big pool that they pull from, and I got pulled as an alternate for yesterday, but my daughter had a soccer game. I had to take her to, but one of the guys fishing put up 90 inches. So I was like, wow, somebody knows what they're doing. Obviously not me. But so I'm looking forward to getting pulled for that one of these weekends here coming up. So hopefully by that time I have things a little better figured out. But
yeah, well, something I didn't mention, I probably mentioned it before, but with the one I did, those 444s, they're like MLF style. You can catch as many fish over 12 inches that you want, and they count.
Okay.
So like I started out, pretty quick, caught a couple like 12-inch fish. I'm like, I'll take these all night long, and because they all count.
Right.
But yeah, I was hoping, if I could have got 2 more of them, I could have won. But
I've never fished at night before ever. That's pretty much 9 o'clock would be dark, right?
It was dark. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I keep saying I want to try that, but I have never done it. So
one thing I need to invest in is a headlamp, because there were a few times where I'm trying to cast and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good cast. And then I'm like, hang on, I'm snagged on something, shine my light, and I'm like, 6-7 feet up in a tree. Yeah. So need to invest in a headlamp. I don't know. We need to get somebody on here about night fishing, but I think I need one that's got that red light on it, because the white light's going to attract all the bugs to your face.
Right.
And I think that red light you'll be able to see, but it's not as bad as attracting bugs.
Okay. I don't know. I always saw red lights wouldn't cast though. Like you couldn't like look and see. I always thought that was more for tying right in front of you. But I don't
know. Maybe. Like I said, we need to get somebody for night fishing on here.
Yeah. Yeah. So viewers, if you know anybody who knows anything about night fishing, leave a comment and let us know, and we'll work on getting them on, because that's definitely something as it warms up for sure I want to try, because I've heard people do really well at night.
Yeah, especially in the summertime.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard about people catching stripers and stuff and everything. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that would be pretty fun.
There's actually a nighttime tournament here in July, I think. So I might try to hit that one up. I think it goes to like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I've thought about it before. Like when it's a full moon, you can pretty much see, I would think, just like almost daytime.
Well,
And I think that would be good fishing too.
That's also going to determine where you're fishing because, some places I fish, like you're surrounded by these big trees, it's not going to let a lot of light in, but where if you're on like this big open lake, you're probably going to get more light.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that I'd do the river in the dark by myself anyway. That sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah, you don't see that rock and all of a sudden, woof, you're gone.
Right.
But yeah, I had another tournament yesterday. I'm actually, I guess, like assistant TD for this.
Okay.
For this group, Ethan Jett we had on a while back. He started up a group for like a bunch of like a turn. He's got tournaments set up through the year at Williamsport, which I've talked about on here before. But it's ran by TWRA. It's like a bunch of ponds, basically. They call them lakes, but they're like big ponds. But there's 3 of them. There's 4 of them that you're allowed to fish, but one of those you have to have a kid with you. I believe it's like under, I don't know, under a certain age. You got to have a kid with you to fish. So we don't let people fish that one. We basically choose between 3. And you can go to any of those 3 you want. They're all on the same property together. And 3 fish limit. It was fun. 13 people, and this is a new group, so turnout's going to build as we go, especially as it warms up because the fish are really going to start biting. I mean, this is the place where I caught my PB back in December, so there's big fish in these ponds. But yeah, we're trying to grow and build. So if you're in the Middle Tennessee area and looking for a little fun tournament thing going on, come check us out. Williamsport Bass Trail is the group on Facebook. But yeah, we had our tournament yesterday. There were a lot of people that did struggle yesterday, but I think there were 6 of us that caught a limit. I think I had the smallest limit, so I got 6 out of the 13 people. Big bass was 17.5, which surprised me because I was expecting like at least a 19-20. But nobody caught any of the really big ones out there yesterday. Like I said, they're out there. I've seen plenty of them out there. But yeah, I started out in the same lake that I caught my PB at. And out of all 13 people, I was the only one that went to that lake. And it blew my mind because it's known to have the big bass, and it's the smallest one. So a little bit easier to break down generally.
Right.
But I guess I couldn't really break it down yesterday. The water was way up. It was in the trees and having to like navigate between these trees and getting caught up on all of them and all that. It was kind of a pain, but I got my 3 fish limit there and then realized my second fish, I forgot to include I guess I didn't check it afterwards, and my identifier got cut off in the picture. So that was like a 12 3/4 that I had that couldn't use. So I kept fishing there, and I told myself if at 12 o'clock, if I didn't have my 3rd fish yet, that I was going to switch lakes. Well, I got my 3rd fish, and I was like, okay, I'll just stay here and try to upgrade. Well, then I realized that I couldn't use one of my fish. So at like 12:20, I made a change and I ran up to one of the other lakes and got there, threw a crankbait a couple times because they got a big rock wall. They basically like where they dammed it up at.
Mm-hmm.
They got a big rock wall, so I threw a crankbait there a couple times, and then I just booked it out to this point. And yeah, I went out there, was tossing the Ned rig, caught another bass too small. And something I do want to mention, at the other lake, I was catching plenty of fish. They were just too small. Like all of them were like 11 and a half or something like that. I caught one that was too small. Another unique thing about this this group or trail, whatever you want to call it, is you can fish out of a kayak, you can fish out of a boat, you can fish off the bank. It don't matter because these are all trolling motor only lakes, and we do allow trolling motors. So if you got a kayak with a trolling motor, you can use it. But so yeah, you can fish out of pretty much anything out there, like in fishing these tournaments. So well, there was two guys. They're not fishing as a team. They're both fishing as individuals. But two buddies on a boat and we're coming around, and all of a sudden one pulled like I don't know, it looked like a 16 or something out of this tree. And so I'm like, dang it. I like, it was literally like 20, 30 feet to the right of where I started on this point. And I was like, if I would have started over there, maybe I would have got that one. So I go around. I got bit again, missed it. So I'm trying to remember everything. I know there was these. I had a really fun time. There was these two laydowns kind of laying like almost in like a T shape, I guess.
Okay.
And somebody had tied some rope to it. Well, I cast out with the Ned rig over close to this, and I still don't know what happened. I think I got bit. It felt like a fish. It started fighting. I set the hook and I'm trying to go back, and all of a sudden it's like I'm snagged on a log. I'm like, what the hell? Like maybe they wrapped me up on the log or something. So I get up there close to it, trying to get it out. All of a sudden I pull out, and the head of the Ned rig is still tied on, but like right at the base of the head, my hook was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it just broke off and gone. So then I was like, okay, I'm done with the Ned rig for today. And I had where I used that crankbait earlier, I had that rod laid down on the side of my deck, and the crankbait was kind of hanging off the front a little bit. Well, the treble hooks got caught in that rope on that tree. Well, with it being a T shape, I'm in this area of the T. I think I lagged for a second. Did you hear me?
Yep, I heard you. Yep.
Okay. I didn't know if I lagged out or something. But yeah, the I don't know. It's hard to explain. But anyways, like
you're on one side of the T and the crankbait's on the other.
Well, it's kind of like right at the
intersection.
Yeah. So I can't really like get up to it because this log here, the kayak won't go over it, So basically I had to get as close as I could and get on my knees on the deck of my kayak up by my pedal drive and lean up there and take my knife and cut this rope to get my crankbait back. Almost, dude, I don't know how my crankbait rod didn't snap when I originally came up to this, because I'm looking over here at that, trying to get that Ned rig out, wasn't paying attention. All of a sudden, this rod, I swear this rod was bit like that. And I like before I like lifted it up and got it, man, I don't know how it didn't snap. Those ducket rods, man, they held up for me.
Good. I do the same thing usually when I have a crankbait tied on. I let it hang over the front like that, and I've had my line get tangled in it when I'm retrieving. I've had all sorts of issues. I need to figure out a better way to do that.
Yeah, probably. See, I'm lazy. Once I'm out there on the water, especially in a tournament setting, no matter what I use, I never put it back in the bait keeper on the rod. Like when I put it up,
Mhm.
I leave it hanging, like just to save time, I guess. And yeah, when it comes to treble hooks like that, if it's like a jig or something, it's usually not an issue. But
Right.
anything with treble hooks, man, it gets caught in everything. But speaking of jigs, that's what I pulled out next. And I I had one bite, set the hook, and it come flying at the kayak and got off. Um, then I caught like a 14 and a half. That's my big fish of the day on the jig. That felt good, catching my first jig fish of the year.
I was going to say that probably takes you back to your confidence.
Yeah, I needed a little boost in that. But I think I caught another one that was too small to count after that, and then the tournament was done. So I ended up with like 41 inches, I think, or 40 and something, right around there, between three fish.
That's not bad for 3 fish.
Yeah, got me sixth place. So,
When you're throwing the TRD or the Ned rig, are you mostly doing TRD or are you throwing something else?
see, I'm using the Wicked Weights heads, Ned heads, and I'm using the Z-Man TRDs.
Okay.
Yeah, I've really come accustomed to that setup. They,
Okay.
I've got a medium light rod. I'm throwing it on. I think I got like 10-pound braid going to I think it's 6-pound fluorocarbon leader,
Okay.
and I'm using those 1/16 ounce tungsten heads that they got. And man, it's been great. It's been killing it.
Are you mostly dragging that, or are you hit them on
No.
hitting it on the fall, or?
I'm letting it sink to the bottom and just let it sit there.
Okay, dead sticking. All right.
Yeah, and every now and then, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 seconds, I'll give it a couple little pops
Mm-hmm.
and then just let it sit there. I'll leave just a little bit of slack in it. That way, if I move a little bit, you don't really transfer to it as much
Right.
as it would if you're tight lining it. But yeah, leave just a little bit of slack in there, enough to where if something hits it, you'll see it or feel it. That's another thing, man. That rod I got, that's one my wife let me order for my birthday, and it's a Duckett Micro Magic Pro, and got a Daiwa reel on it. Man, I'm loving that setup. So part of my issue with spinning combos might have been just not having a good feeling setup. I've never put any money into a spinning set because I've never really liked them that much. But man, now that I have a nice one, it's it's nice, and like I feel the bite. Like before on a Ned rig, it was kind of like, oh, something. I think something's got it. I can't tell. No, like most of the time now, I feel it.
Pick it up. Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't, since I've been using all the fish that I've caught so far this year. I haven't. Yesterday, I kind of got hooked one, but I got it out pretty easily. So he was fine. It didn't take me long to get it out. He wasn't bleeding that I saw, so that made me happy because I hate killing fish with a gut hook.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing that I also like about this setup, being able to feel it. I can set the hook earlier. You don't really. That's the only one out of almost 20 fish I've caught so far that I've gotten the gut. The rest have been in the lip. So you got it soon enough before they start swallowing it.
Yep. Now, are those open hooks or they have weed guards on them?
They're open, but the way I rig them up on there, they got a little bait keeper on it. So I rig them up. I go in a little bit, and then come back out the side, push it up on there, and push it up on that weed guard, and then kind of rig it like a Texas rig and go over the hook. So it's just barely a point of that hook sticking out of the plastic, and that bait keeper keeps it from sliding back up the hook.
Okay.
And yeah, man, that's been working out great for me and helps me keep me from getting snagged up too much.
Cool. And you're mostly fishing that shallow, or are you getting some depth? Like,
I mean, most I guess that depends on what you're considering like shallow. Like that setup I'll fish in like 10 foot or less.
okay.
Probably going to go a little bit heavier on that Ned head if I'm going to try to fish any deeper, which I generally don't. But that 1/16 ounce, it takes a little bit for it to fall, especially with that floating elastic on it.
So yeah, once you get over 10 feet, it's taken a long time to get down there. So.
Yeah.
Now, if that's mostly lakes, would you do that in the river with current, or do you have a different setup for river?
I don't know. I've never really fished a Ned rig in the river. You know, last year was the first time I've really messed with the river. So I'm still learning with the river. So I'm going to try it. You know, I might go a little bit heavier if I need to, but I don't know. We'll see.
When I fished it on the river with that light of setup, I had a hard time keeping bottom contact. It was definitely going down with the current, which I thought was good, but I also couldn't feel it. It was just kind of, I couldn't even feel it ticking, you know. So it's
maybe a little bit heavier then.
Right, yeah. So, but I also want to try and find pools on the river where I know I can throw it and it'll just kind of hang out there, so that I can try the dead sticking a little bit more. So
throw it in an eddy or something.
Yep. Or right behind one of those big ledges, you know, where it'll just kind of sit there. So
yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. I did catch my first 2 tube fish ever in the river this year.
Nice.
One time it was really windy and a storm was coming in. I wanted to go fishing, but didn't have a lot of time. So I actually bank fished for a little bit, and I ran into this guy. He's like, well, I'm leaving. I just caught 7 here on a tube, but and he gave me one busted up, ripped up tube. He's like, this is all I got, but if you want it, you can have it, because I just broke off my last head. And I tried it a little bit, but the storm came in quicker than I expected. But when I finally got to go out on the river on my kayak, I went back to that spot from the river, and that's where my 2 smallies on the river this year came from. I was just dragging a tube through that area, and for the first time, I don't know if it's my rods are better, like you said, but I can really feel the bottom, and I can feel it bumping up over stuff. And I'm actually using the stupid tube.
I was going to ask if you were using that, because I know you picked up would you get like a kit or something for that?
Yep. And it's working really good, and they don't tend to like. I tried throwing tubes in the river before, but I was snagging a lot because the hook was exposed. But on the stupid tube, the way you rig it's almost like kind of Texas rigged so that the hook isn't as exposed. And I really was able to pull it up and over rocks and just kind of crawl my way around. And I think it's a really good, crayfish presentation. So it worked on those 2 anyway, and I'm looking forward to going back there. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And another thing with feeling the bite that I didn't really mention is those heads that I'm using are tungsten, so they got more sensitivity to them.
Yep, and they're probably smaller, right?
Oh, they're tiny, dude. They're like trying to think. I know I've seen like little bitty batteries before. I'm just trying to think of what they go to. I don't know. They're really, really little. I was going to say something about that.
I've seen that. So that's what size the Ned head is. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Do what?
That's what size the Ned head is, or similar to that, to those little batteries.
Yeah, I can't think of what the batteries even go to. I know I've seen them before. They're just little bitty tiny things. But there was something else I was going to say about that, but I don't remember what it was.
you were going to say that's the size of the Ned head, right?
Well, yeah, but there was something else about the Ned I was going to
okay.
say that I can't remember.
Are they black? Because I know one thing I like watching Mike McKinstry's show. He was saying that he uses a lot of the red and the bright yellow, or the chartreuse heads, and I was thinking about trying that a little bit more just to see if I get a few more bites that way. Because most of the time I had been using Z-Man's black and green pumpkin, but I'm like, maybe I should try something a little brighter. I have a few mule jigs that I've been using too, and I have caught a few little things on that. Now, I haven't caught a bass yet on it, but
no, the ones I'm using are green pumpkin. But you should definitely listen to Mike McKinstry over me. Like, I mean, just saying. But yeah, I finally put together my Yak Gadget crate and been using that, and that's going. Oh, I now know what I was going to say, dude. I never knew how well a Ned rig skips. Man, I was skipping the fire out of that thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I was liking that because it's like low overhanging trees just skip right up under there. It was great.
I'll have to try that. I've gotten really, really good at skipping a wacky rig, but I don't know that I've tried it. Usually I wasn't fishing the Ned rig in those areas, but maybe I should be. So
well, see, I wasn't trying to do it at first. It just accidentally happened. And then I was like, wow, that did it very well, very easily. So then I started trying. I was like, yeah.
Nice.
But see, now I done lost train of thought of what I was saying after that. Let's see, said Mike McKinstry and
your crate. You're trying
yeah, man, that thing's awesome. One thing that kind of bothers me is I've gotten so used to my rods laying down. I really don't like my rods standing up, and I really seen why I had my rods laying down in the first place, because they were getting caught on trees and stuff. So eventually I want to do like Daniel Perry's setup.
Yep.
And get them where they're kind of more sticking out the back. But other than that, loving the crate. And how you like yours?
I love mine too. I actually took, I think Josh Eldridge did where he turned the two on the side. I have the bigger one, and the two on the side I actually mounted at a kind of an angle like that so that they're not standing straight up. But then I have four on the back that do stand straight up. Usually I put my net there in one of those when I'm not using it. And but yeah, same thing. If I'm out on the river, I tend to put my rods vertically because I'm not fishing under trees as much. But when I'm on the lake fishing the edges of the lake, then trees are definitely an issue. So I try to keep as much laying down as I possibly can. So
see, I got the smaller crate. I only got 3 tubes on there.
Okay.
But I'm happy that I haven't snagged any when I go back to cast yet. I've been trying to think about it, but so I don't do that and kind of do more like from the side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been great so far. Yeah.
I have to give a shout out too to my net. I finally got to put a fish in my net this year. I got this awesome Forever Last yak net, I think is what they call it, and that thing's worked great. I love the mesh. Hooks come out of it so easy, and it's super wide, but it floats. It's just perfect. So if you guys are looking for a good net, I definitely recommend it. It's very similar to the I guess I forget what it was called, the Gen 2 that a bunch of the guys have, or but it's made by Forever
Academy
Last
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is made by Foreverlast. It's yak. It has yak in the name of it. It was designed for kayakers. It does have an extendable handle, but I don't generally keep mine extended because I've been able to reach the fish fine with the shorter handle. It's bright yellow and green, so it's kind of flashy. I don't really care too much about that, but
and it floats, right?
It does. Yeah.
Well, see, you're gonna like those bright colors if it ever falls in the water and it's floating around. You got to be able to see it easily.
Right. So,
but man, I'm really liking my net so far. I bought it used back in October. It's one of the Yak Attack nets,
the flip one, right?
Yeah, but I keep mine, like
extended.
Already in the position it needs to be in. I actually stole a idea from a local guy. I took one of those roto grip, Yak Attack roto grips, and I put it on the top of my pedal drive. I know you can't do that as a Hobie guy, but us with like the circular motion pedal drives, I put it on top of there, and then I just use zip ties to go, like I go around it like this, around it like that, and then a couple to hold them in place. And so that roto grip stays on the top. Well, I laid that net, like the actual net part is sitting on the front of my kayak, and the handle is laying inside that roto grip,
right between my
feet. Yeah. So whenever if I got a fish, I can just reach up, grab the net, lift it up over in the water. So, man, I've lost fish having the net back here before. Like you said, you got yours behind you.
Only when I'm not using it. When I think I might be catching fish, I usually pull it out and lay it kind of catty-cornered on the front of on the front hatch. So,
okay. Well, I've used to keep mine back here. I didn't keep it in the crate, but I kept it in the built-in rod holder back here.
Yep.
And I've lost fish by going like this to do it. Well, then I gave the fish slack when I turned, and they got off.
I still have to learn my lesson with that because I feel like I'm not hook setting well. I told you before we started, I was in this spot where they were blowing up top, like on top. I was seeing bass jump all over the place, and I saw one jump, and I just happened to have my jerk bait like right there ready. So I cast almost like a fraction of a second after he breached, and he nailed it as soon as it hit the water. And I thought I set the hook good. He took it under and then shook like 2 or 3 times, and it came right back up. So it was fun while it lasted, but I was like, I still am not getting my hook set right on my treble baits. Are
you sure you're not getting too good of a hook set?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think in that case for sure I almost didn't, because I just started reeling, hoping that it would kind of hook himself, but he shook it.
That's one thing when it comes to stuff with like treble hooks and Ned rigs and stuff. I think that's gonna be where I shine, because I have little sissy hook sets, and those are made for sissy hook sets.
Yep.
Just doing little jerks like that, and that's why I use light wire flipping jigs and all that. I still got to, man, I was thinking yesterday, like, I could have really used some of those finesse jigs from Jig Masters that we talked to them about. Like, I got to get an order in.
I have 2. I haven't thrown them yet, but definitely looking forward to it. I did start throwing that little spinner that he had out. Tried that on the river yet, but the fish on the river weren't hitting spinners yet. But I think that's definitely coming. So.
Yeah, I think you're gonna do good with that thing this year.
I like how it feels coming through the water. It reminds me a lot of the rooster tails. So and those slayed it for me last year. So it's funny. I was just reading an article about often overlooked lures for bass, and the guy was saying, I think it might have been a video, and he was like, "Oh, it was a tactical bassin," and it was the first time I ever heard him mention a rooster tail. And he's like,
That's the first time I've ever heard you call it a rooster tail.
Inline spinner, rooster tail, you know. But he's like, you know, everybody thinks of them as trout lures, but bass eat them too. And last year on the river, that was far and away the most productive lure for me. So, and it wasn't all little fish. I did catch a lot of little fish, but you know, I think I had an 18-inch smallie on that last year. So, and that was a heck of a fight because I throw it on real light line, and haven't broke it yet. So, I'm going to keep throwing it if it works. So,
yeah, an 18-inch smallie on any light setup is fun.
Yes, for sure. And then I just happened to be drifting over to the shore, and I was like, woohoo, screaming, you know, and this guy I looked up and there's a guy standing right there looking at me like, dude, you're an idiot. But then he said nice fish and, you know, congratulated me. So
that's awesome. I remember when I caught my last PB largemouth, like there were people over there fishing on the bank. There was a boat coming with this guy and like a younger boy, probably high school age, and like they were all excited for me. But yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah, no, hopefully first of many more. So yeah, and if I see someone catch a huge one, I'm right there cheering them on because I love seeing people get excited. You know?
Yeah, man. Like my buddy Thomas, when we go fishing together, every time it seems like he almost always catches a nice fish when we go out. And I need to get him on here sometime because, you know, he's kind of newer himself. But man, he does great. I don't know if he does extra research or what, or he's just a natural or what, but he does great. But every time he catches a nice fish, by the time he gets it unhooked and everything, I'm right there ready to go with the camera. Like, let me get that hero shot for you.
Yeah. Nice.
But
truth be told, I get that way even on a creek chub or a dink. Catching fish to me is just what makes it enjoyable, and I don't really care what size or if it's pulling on the end of my line, it makes me happy. So
I mean, yesterday I wanted to find the bigger fish, but dude, I caught like 10 or more fish yesterday, so I had a good day. You know, there were a bunch of small ones, but man, I felt that line tug, and you know, just turn your drag down a little bit, it feels like a little bit bigger fish. You know?
I noticed in the Noobs tournament for April, Brian Schiller is in there, and he hadn't had a fish for a long time. And I'm like, hey, I have 3 fish, and he has none. Now he overtook me in length yesterday, but a bunch of his are just over like 10 inches or 11 inches. He didn't really get a huge one yet. So he definitely found the little ones. I'm sure he will find bigger ones as the month draws to a close. We're about halfway through, so. But
I hope he loses.
Well, Bill Galakis has like 99 inches already.
Wow.
And he has 4 20-inch fish and 1 19-inch fish. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know where you live, Bill, but it must be someplace good because, that's some nice fish.
We're gonna need the GPS coordinates so we can double check, make sure it's not a private body of water and all that good stuff.
Right. I did get some juice about a lake close to me. I just haven't made the trip. A friend of mine was telling me it's an hour and a half away from me, so it'd be a 3-hour trip just driving. But he said that, and he's been posting videos on YouTube like crazy of some crazy fish catches there, like tons of big ones. So I'm thinking when it is my turn for that 360 tournament that we have, or I might go check it out and see. I probably should fish there before that just so I know my way around a little bit. But
well, yeah. So anybody watching this, as you can see at the bottom, we've updated our little friendly competition here. I currently have 8 fish over 12 inches. Sean has 3 fish over 12 inches for the year. at the end of the year, whoever loses has to buy the winner a new kayak. So I'm looking good for no, I'm playing.
I'll take a 360, Hobie 360.
Well, you better do some catching up. You're 5 behind right now.
I'm working on it. I'm going out this afternoon, so I'm hoping to put a dent in that.
So you're cheating now.
Why's that?
So this is actually Sunday morning. We're recording this. He's going out this afternoon. So by tomorrow when this airs, he might have a few more to add to it.
Hopefully.
Well, I hope you get a few more, but not enough to catch me. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me, at least make it interesting. So,
yeah. All right, man. Well, anything else you feel we need to talk about before?
No, I think we'll be back to our normal guests hopefully next week.
Real quick, I was going to say something when I was talking about the Yak Gadget crate. I got one of the Yak Gadget paddles, and man, that thing is smooth. Man, it feels really like I had the only thing about it, it's a 250 centimeter. I wish it was 260. I did talk to John about it. I believe he plans on coming out with different sizes eventually, but they just did a 250 for now, like as they launched the product. But yeah, the paddle's sweet.
That's Yak Gadget, right? You said did you say Yak Attack or did you say Yak Gadget?
I thought it should be Yak Gadget.
Okay, it's a Yak Gadget.
Yak Gadget.
Yeah.
If I didn't say it right. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch this and see. But yeah, Yak Gadget. But yeah, so I had a Bending Branches Angler Classic, and that's it's right in the same price range. And man, I don't know if this Yak Gadget paddle isn't lighter than that one. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my Bending Branches paddle, but I think I'm liking this one more. When they come out with the 260, I think I'll really like it.
Nice. That's definitely something on my list. Now that I'm starting to finally feel like I have all my gear mostly where I want it, I do want to upgrade my paddle. I picked up a kayak cushion, so props to them. Definitely makes the seat very comfortable. I kind of held off on that for a while, and I think on St. Patrick's Day he had a 25% off, so I hopped on that, and I've been loving that. That definitely does make even the seat. My Hobie seat wasn't crazy uncomfortable before, but now it's just super comfortable. It's like a lounge chair. So
nice.
Cool, man. Well, everyone, we will catch back up with you guys in a week or so. We thank you for tuning in to the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment of the Paddle and Fin podcast, where we bring you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to hopefully help you rip more lips. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch up with you.
Later, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com